Hey guys, this is Callum from EnglishShooting and welcome back to the channel. What's better than one gun to review? Of course, two guns to review. I'm down here at the new quarry range for Kentucky Firearms Club to take a first look at the new Calibre Innovations RR, dubbed the JPS. These are meant to be starter guns at a really competitive price to get people out of the box and into a match. We're talking £595 for the semi-auto and £495 for the pump action. Both come in the option of either section 1 or section 2. On initial impressions, these do come pretty kitted out. You've got an enlarged charging handle, an enlarged bolt release with quite good serrations on there so you're not going to slip off of it. The safety is pretty standard. I would potentially like to see an enlarged safety, and it also does quite protrude either in the off or on position, so you can get a little bit confused. You do really need to just give it that double check just to make it sure it's on or off. You've got the standard catch that you see on most semi guns to lock the bolt back with. That's pretty normal, but this is then really what most people want to pay attention to, and that is the port work. A lot of the semi guns available on the market don't come with a particularly widened port. This does. Is it perfect? No, it could definitely do with a little bit more work, but it is easy to load still, and I was able to do it pretty slickly. The only sort of snag point on the semi is actually the shell catch. I did find that there was just a little bit more resistance when trying to get the shells past it than personally I would have liked, but that could easily be solved with a bit of polishing, with a little bit of tuning. I think a little bit of an unnecessary feature for a practical gun is the Picatinny rail here on the underside of the forend. I found personally that it got a little bit more in the way than being useful. Personally, I would just Dremel that straight off if it was my my gun. You have the sling attachments. Again, I'd just be taking these straight off. This gun does start as a field or hunting gun, and in the factory it's then been brought up to a competition spec. I would just do without them. You really don't need them for practical shotgun. The semi comes with a full set of extended chokes, and these are the Benelli mobile chokes, which again for practical is really needed. You want to be tightening it up and checking it every single time at the stage, between each stage. Just make sure that it hasn't come loose, and also you want to be able to quickly change them. You're going to be chopping and changing depending on which stage you're going to, whether you've got far targets or tight no shoots, or it's an absolutely blaggy stage and you want to be wide open. My experience of shooting it was, for a gun at this price point that's effectively fresh out of the box, was very good. Overall, for the price point, I don't think you can go wrong with this one really, and we'll talk a little bit about the differences on the section 2 and the section 1s in a sec, because there's an additional service that Calibre Innovation is offering. Now, getting on to the pump, this isn't really my realm, but I've picked up a fair amount from Connors over the years, so I've tried my best. I managed to pump it pretty well after I removed the assist spring. So this does, as standard, have an assist spring where if it was in place, it would be forcing the forend forward. And I found that when I was first testing it, when I put the first rounds through it, it was fighting me. I found it a lot of work to actually bring that spring back, because you're manually having to compress that spring whilst trying to extract the cartridge, whilst trying to bring that forend back. And I found that I got very fatigued very quickly, so I thought I would take it out. And the other issue that it introduced for me, having that load, sort of that assist spring, is that when you were trying to put the first round in or the breech flag, it was very fiddly. So I took the spring out, and a complete transformation for me of the gun. It then felt like any other pump, like a Supernova. You could lock it back and it stays back, and just generally functioning the gun, it was a lot easier, a lot less resistance in working that forend. And in terms of the pump to pump, I found it pretty slick and pretty quick. Overall with this gun, in terms of the features, well, it's a pump version of the semi-automatic. The biggest difference is that you've got this stock on it. It can come with a standard stock if you want. This is very similar to the Magpul stocks that they make. I think it looks pretty good. In terms of the fit and feel, I really haven't put it through its paces enough to say yay or nay, but personally I did prefer this stock over the semi. I did find that the semi probably needed a bit of rounding off on the butt pad. It was a little bit sharp. If you didn't get it properly in that shoulder, it was jabbing you as you were shooting it. This being a lot flatter and overall a lot rounder than the pointy semi butt pad, I found it a lot more comfortable overall. I did find though that the port work on it, the port opening was a little bit more difficult to load. I was snagging a lot more with it. Again, they have removed a fair amount of material from this. It certainly isn't a challenge to load it. I can just sense there is more to be gained, and I can see various sort of catching edges where the shells were binding up. The standard spring tensions inside of the tubes I did find a little stiff. This isn't really a comment overall of the gun. That's something that you're going to want to do when you get it home to tune it to how you like. But again, that was just adding to certainly with the pump, just sort of being a little bit more difficult to load. The other thing I found was the lifter spring pressure. It's not particularly stiff, but it again just added that little bit more resistance. Combine that with the shell catch, combine that with the spring and the sharp catching edges, it just made the pump for me a lot more difficult to load than the semi. The safety is a tiny standard little safety. Personally, I'd like to see an enlarged safety on there so you can get on quickly. What I like to do is, you have your finger ready at the start, and I like to be able to just knock it in there with the middle of my finger and then go on to the trigger. It makes it where it is. You can just about do it, but I found that I was ending up doing that. It's a very small thing, doing that to then onto the trigger, but we're talking practical shooting here. We're looking for those fractions of seconds. Comparing it to the Supernova, which is probably the pump gun that I have shot the most, this feels a lot more compact and a lot lighter than the Supernova. It's one of the main reasons that I thought I would never get into standard manual. Even with the short action bars on the Supernova from Magload, I still find it a very difficult gun to operate. This just fits me perfectly. I find it a lot more compact and a lot lighter than that Supernova. So overall, again, at £495, the gun isn't perfect, but if you're looking for a beginner gun, you're going to be able to get this out of the box and run into a competition quite happily, and then you'll be able to trick it out as you go on. Let's not forget that the Benelli Supernova, you're talking £600 to £800. That still needs port work doing. That still needs a hell of a lot of modification to get it race ready. And I think overall, this is just a little bit further along, and being at a cheaper price point to begin with can't be a bad thing. So as you've seen, I've been shooting the Section 2 versions of these guns, but it does come in a Section 1. The current configuration of the Section 1 versions are a 9+1 capacity tube. Calibre Innovations have said that they will be releasing a 10+1 version, which brings it into a more common size. Really, the most popular size magazine tubes are either 10 or 12 rounds. So the 9 is probably one more or one less than what you actually want, but we'll soon have that 10+1. What is absolutely fantastic though, and really does say a lot about why Calibre are selling these guns and the general ethos of it in terms of getting people shooting at a good price point and giving the equipment out of the box for them to go and do it, is that if you currently have a shotgun certificate and you are waiting for your firearm certificate to come through, or a slot for a Section 1 shotgun, you can buy one in a Section 2 variant. Calibre Innovations will hold on to the internal and external tubes that make it a Section 1, and once you've got that slot, once you've got your FAC, all you have to do is bring it back to Calibre Innovations and they will swap it over for you free of charge. So you can get used to the gun in Section 2 under your shotgun certificate, and when the slot permits, you'll be able to completely free take it to them and have it a Section 1. So it's not a gun that you're going to need to dispose of as soon as your FAC comes through. You can stick with it, get to know it, and know that overall you're going to get good value for money. There we go, guys. Thank you very much for watching this video, and a big thank you to Calibre Innovations for inviting me down and allowing me to have a play with their new RR JPS. I hope you've enjoyed the video. I hope you found it interesting. If you have, please give it a big thumbs up and please consider subscribing for any future videos. And as always, guys, I hope to see you soon.